Okay. Do I have any cheese or lipstick on my teeth?
No. Do I?
No.
Good.
We should clip that. Okay.
You're the queen of clips, so
I can clip it if I
you
want
can
to.
clip it. Welcome back, guys, to the Why of It All. This
Hi.
is episode 16. It's wild to say 16. I can't believe it. And on this episode, it's going to be an interesting subject. You know, we were taking a long walk this morning, Melanie and I, around Town Lake, and
we're still on our little staycation.
Yes,
you can see.
we're still on our staycation, but I had the idea of to talk about healing in the parenting journey. You know, we both have children. Melanie's got a 9-year-old, almost 10-year-old. I have a 14-year-old son, almost 15. And we had some things come up recently with our kids, and we're like, you know what? Yeah, I think a lot of people can resonate with being a mom and what the healing process looks like for you, how it affects your children.
Yeah.
And so we're just going to get into it.
Yeah.
And talk about this. What prompted the conversation was something that happened with my son this last week. We had a little situation, and let me just preface this by saying my child is we all think we have the most amazing kid, right? But we really do. My son is so amazing. His name is Max, and he is just a very kind, sweet, tender-hearted, just empathetic, non-confrontational child. He's just very strong, very confident already at 14. And so he's wonderful. And so anytime we have any kind of discord, it's huge, right? Because we hardly ever do. I really don't have to come down on him hard. There's really not any disciplinary action I ever have to take with him. Thank God. Let's hope, knock on wood. Let's hope that keeps going through these teenage years. But this last week we had something happen. I'm just going to be quite honest. He was at this little hobby game store. He's into like these little action figurines, and he like paints them. And so there's this hobby store in town where you can actually go and paint them. And so I don't even know if I've told you this.
No,
and so I dropped him off because he said, I'd like to go and paint. I said, okay, you can stay for a couple hours. I'll pick you up later. I'd been in there before with him the week before to buy these little paints for these little action figures. And I met a couple of the guys that were in there. You know, it's an older crowd of typically more adults, you know, young adults. And anyway, I felt safe dropping him off there. And then halfway through his visit there, he texted me, he goes like, hey, Mom. And I'm like, what? And he sends me a picture, and he's like, this man here is giving me all these figurines that he wants me to have. Well, my mom radar goes up. Okay.
My mom radar just went up when you told me that.
Okay. So I am asking these questions over text to Max, and I'm like, for free? Or does he want me to pay for them when I get there? Like, I had all these questions that were starting to kind of, you know, when I think of an older man giving my son some free, these are expensive characters. Like my mom just spent like $60 2 weeks ago on these little characters. And he sent me a picture, like 6 or 7 of these. And I'm like, okay, so my mom radar's going off. All right. So I knew he was safe in this public place. So I pick him up, and I'm giving you guys the cliff notes, but I pick him up, and we're in the car, and he's so excited. And he's like showing me all these like things, and like, you know, he's so excited. And they even gave him a book. And I'm like, who gave you the book? And this other guy that works, I gave him the book. And I'm just like, okay. So I had like a teachable moment for a minute. I'm like, Max, you know, okay, like, you didn't give him your number, right? Or like, he didn't ask to see you outside of the store. No, you know, just they were in the back. He wasn't using them anymore. He knows I'm into them. He wanted, and so, but still, I'm still like, okay, you know,
your mama bear instincts are coming out. Yes. And you're probing and asking questions to make sure your child is safe.
Correct. That's all I was doing. But, you know, I could sense him getting
doing the same thing.
Yeah, but I could sense him getting a little irritated, okay, with the question. So I just kind of chilled out. Well, we get home. Me and his father are divorced, so his father lives in another home. So he called his dad. He's really excited. He called Dad from my house, and he's like, hey, Dad, I got all these. Well, I could hear my ex-husband on speaker, and I hear, you know, my ex-husband giving Max the same questions, like grilling him, like, okay, do we know this guy? Like, all right, like maybe me and mom need to go in there and meet him and just kind of, and Max is just being real calm with his dad, wasn't getting defensive like he was with me. And so I tell him, I'm like, Max, and I'm like, come in the room. And so I was basically trying to make a point of like, look, I'm not so crazy. Like your father's feeling the same way.
Yeah.
Now you can see that we're both on a united front, even though we're divorced. Like he can sense us both having our parent radar on,
Yeah.
right? And so he comes in there and his dad's talking and I'm kind of like, see, son, and in front of his dad, I'm trying to do a teachable moment. And I'm trying to make us feel like, because he comes from a divorced house, and so I'm kind of trying to make him feel like we're both on a united front. We both just love him, blah, blah, blah. And so I kind of laugh because his father always makes a joke when it's like a tense situation. I was laughing. Well, anyway, we get off the phone with his father and I could just tell you like had a scowl. He was just really upset. And I was like, what's wrong? And he's like, I just, like you were laughing at me. And I'm like, honey, I wasn't laughing at you. I was laughing at your father. And so I was like, why do you get defensive with me when your father's saying the same thing? And you're just like, yes, sir, no, sir, with him. And so we had this little tense moment. Well, he leaves to go take a shower and I can hear him in the shower and he's like bawling. He is like crying, like uncontrolled. I can hear him talking to himself. I don't know what he's saying. But anyway, it was a very sensitive topic to him, I guess.
It sounds like he got surprisingly emotional about it and you maybe weren't expecting that.
He did. And so we went, I fell asleep because I was tired. Teenage boys, they take long showers. So he might be in there 30, 40 minutes. And I'm like, all right.
What you doing?
What you doing? And there's a lot of water I'm having to pay for. I mean, come on. And so anyway, but there was a moment that I wanted to go in the door and I wanted to tap on the door. I'm like, are you okay? Like I wanted to come to his rescue, but I knew there was a part of my motherly instinct too that knew that he needed to work through this. He needed to process these emotions, right? Which we're going to get into a little more because we talked about this morning. But the beauty was that I fell asleep and I don't like going to bed mad. I say mad, but we were just in discord. But the next morning I said, son, can you come in here? And we had a 5-10 minute conversation on the side of the bed. I'm sorry that you felt I was laughing at you. I was not laughing at you. I was completely laughing at your father. There was some miscommunications, but sometimes we forget that our kids they're little adults. They are little adults and they have real feelings. And sometimes you lose sight of that because you're parenting them all day and night.
Yeah.
And it's not until you sometimes have those little vulnerable talks where things come out. And so he's sitting on the side of the bed and he's like, I'm sorry too that I got defensive with you, Mom. I shouldn't have talked to you like that. I know that was wrong. Like he's saying all the things that like an adult would say. And then he said, Mom, and again, this is something I would have never thought of. And he's like, Mom, it's really hard to be two different people. I'm a completely different person at my dad's house than I am at your house. And I just had this aha moment. Like, wow, poor kid. Like, think about it. And then I had to really step aside for a minute, put my own feelings aside and listen to what he was saying.
I'm really impressed by that. That is
right
for a 14-year-old to have self-reflected enough to understand that is to even be able to verbalize his feelings that way.
Right.
I'm impressed by that.
And I also have wanted, and me and Melanie, and we'll touch on this more, but because I want Melanie to pop in here, but we talked about raising emotionally intelligent children like that. We're on our healing journey, but we're also raising little human beings to be emotionally intelligent. And so I had just never thought that this poor kid, he goes to his father's house. He feels like he has to be a completely different person. And then he comes to my house, and because of him and his dad, our guests are different.
You have different relationships. You have it's a different combination of personalities. And different people in our lives are always going to bring out different versions of us.
Yeah.
It's just that in your situation, as so many other people's situation, the different, in this case, it's two totally separate households. And so he's not often in the blended family
Yeah.
anymore. It's very much separated.
It is.
And so I get that.
But just the fact, like you said, that he could verbalize that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, wanting to come to his rescue, but knowing that he needed to purge. Like I know when I need a good cry, I don't want somebody coming in there and bothering me and telling me to stop crying.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so I think it was a good moment for him to own his own feelings, right? Work them through on his own and not have mom soothing him, because that's really what I wanted to do. But I knew that he needed to work through how, and then he could, in the morning, he could verbalize, right, what was going on with his little head and his emotions.
Yeah.
So that's what really prompted this whole, like, let's get into like the parenting and the emotional regulation and how that kind of looks in our different households.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Just adding to what you're talking about with allowing our kids to process their emotions. It's my opinion that the helicopter parent generation has done extraordinary damage to their children. I think it's well intended.
For sure.
Of course, as parents, we want to protect our children from all kinds of pain. We want to protect them from physical pain. We want to protect them from emotional pain. But well intended as that can be, what it has in recent generations, it's gotten so out of control where parents will literally step in and not allow their children to fully process the emotional state.
Exactly.
Kid starts crying and you immediately jump in to try to stop the crying instead of allowing the feelings to process and loving your child through it. Just like when we get triggered or we have something comes up that causes us to burst into tears, that is a valve being released. It's an emotional valve. The body needs to release those feelings. Think about like an animal that almost gets hit by a car. It goes onto the other side of the road. Thank God it didn't get hit. And what does it do? It shakes.
Yes.
A dog or a cat or something that experiences a moment of fear trauma, they shake afterwards. They're shaking off the trauma and releasing it from their body. Humans don't shake it out, although that is actually a nervous system tool. The shake out is actually a really good nervous system tool if you're in a moment of nervous system dysregulation. But our cry response, to me, is what that really is. We need to release those valves. And so very often I see parents out there, when the kid goes into tears for whatever reason, they do everything they can to either distract a child from their feelings or to soothe the feelings to make the crying stop. All that really is an emotionally dysregulated parent who can't handle the display of emotion that they're witnessing with their child, and they need to make the display of emotion stop. It's not good for the kid. The kid needs to be able to release it.
Yes.
I read books about this, and I wish I could remember which books they were so I could recommend them, but I don't remember off the top of my head right now. When Violet was very, very little, in our house, we've always parented that way. We have always, if anything came up for her, I saw it as a valve that needs to be released. And so rather than stop the feelings, I would just hold her and let the feelings pour out, so that I was there for her, supporting her and loving her through it, but not stopping it in any way.
Right.
Oftentimes I could see something bubbling under the surface. I would just say, come on over here, have a seat, sit her in my lap, wrap my arms around her and say, do you need to have a cry? And this is when she was really little, like toddler level speaking, but not a lot of language.
Yeah.
I would say, do you need to have a cry? And she would go, yes. And she'd go, blah, and it would all come pouring out. And 2 or 3 minutes later, she'd go, okay. And then she'd run off and go play again.
Yeah.
And this is how we parented for her from the very beginning. And I find that Violet, because we've always done that, we've always let her release the feelings. My child is 10 years old. She's never had a single tantrum in her entire life. The feelings have never gotten to the point where they got bottled up.
Yes.
She was always allowed to release them as needed. Nowadays, She's just a really well-regulated kid.
Yeah.
Things just don't really bother her. She doesn't get that upset about stuff. Now she's 10, so she's going to be coming into some hormones soon, and we'll see how that goes.
Good luck with that.
We'll see how that goes. But she's a really well-regulated kid overall. And going back to the emotional intelligence thing, as she got older, and as we are working through whatever comes up in real time in the present moment, so it doesn't get bottled in, we would talk about it. We would name, what is this emotion? What is this feeling? And she's really, really good with, in terms of emotional intelligence. She's able to always describe very clearly what it is that she's feeling, and she doesn't feel like she can't talk about it.
Yeah.
But circling back to what we were talking about on our walk, really was like, what it's like to be a parent, parenting relatively young kids while we are on a healing journey, where sometimes I feel like somebody would just wrap their arms around me and let me cry it out, you know?
Yes.
It's an interesting dynamic. What you said about Max, and it tells me that he's emotionally intelligent enough that he's witnessed you in your process.
He has. And one thing I was going to mention is that Melanie has a girl, I have a boy, and I think men are taught to not cry. I think there's a lot of men that grew up in the generation of, oh no, men don't cry, boys don't cry, suck it up, you know, like, no, that's not, we're not going to. And so I have it's always been really important to me to let him know that it's okay to be in touch with his feelings and with his emotions, and to just own that. You know what I mean? And his dad's a crier, so that's good. Like, we have that on our side, because his dad's definitely, like, his dad will get emotional and you know, and cry and stuff. But I think what you were bringing up about our own healing journeys and parenting through that, I think that I'm so honest and vulnerable with my son, and I know that you are too, with your daughter. Like, he witnesses. I may not verbalize all the time, but he sees me in the yoga room meditating. He sees me in bed journaling. He listens to my podcasts in the morning on the way to school and work, and I know he hears what's going on my podcast. It could be a spiritual one, it could be a self-help one, it could be, you know, it could be true crime, it could be whatever. But like, I think just living by example is how they learn the most. Watching us.
I think most people are that way. People will always learn and retain and integrate more from their own experience or from the example set. Well, I should stay with the parenting example. Your kids are always going to learn more from the example you set and the experiences they have directly than they will from your words.
Yes. And another thing that was very clear this morning when I was telling Melanie about his reaction to me and how it was so different, his reaction to his father versus me, is that I brought up, you know, about how I react to my mother and how he has seen this. Like, you know, my mom picks up my son from school during school, and usually she takes him and gets him something to eat. And then I come and pick him up from my mom's after work. And so we see my mother a lot. He's very close with his grandmother. He sees her several times a week, and we're always over there. You know, my father passed away 3 years ago. And so we make it a point to make sure that we're always in communication with her. But anyway, but he sees a lot of me and my mom interacting. And so don't ask me why, but there's always been this like feeling like I need to be this perfect little human for my mom. Like, I've always put my mom on this pedestal, my father too, but I've always like put my mom on this pedestal of like, I just can only aspire to be as elegant and as perfect and whatever. Right. And so there's times where she is talking to me and I get defensive, and I know that Max sees that, like he sees that. And so what he was doing the other night when we had this little disagreement was he was getting defensive with me, but that's what he's witnessed. So it's like I had to take a look at myself and see, okay, where did he see that behavior? That was for me. I know it was, because he'll see me get frustrated with my mom. Like he'll see me like snap back or like get defensive. And it could be something really benign, but I think there's this sense of like, I don't know, like your parents are always going to be your parents, right? And at 49, she still tries to parent me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And especially tries to parent me with my own kid. And so I don't know what the defensiveness comes from. I really don't know if I can pinpoint where that comes from. But I think because he has seen that, he reacts the same way to me when I'm just trying to love on him. And
what a perfect little reflection, what a perfect little mirror he is for you.
Is it not?
You know, we know everybody in our life is a mirror reflecting back to us what we are being, what we are projecting and broadcasting out there. But I think it's especially relevant when it's your kid.
It is.
And in this case, there's a perfect reflection of you as the child and how you relate to your mom. And Max is showing you that identical. Mirrored reflection of him as the child.
Yes.
And how he reacts in response to you.
And so tell me, in your household, like, I know you've been doing this journaling, and, you know, we've been doing accountability, which I have fallen off since I've been sick. I'm not going to lie, but we've had this, you know, Melanie's had this morning routine of the journaling, the limbic work, and the gratitude, all this. Have you seen Violet like observing this?
Well,
Has there been anything around her watching you on this portion of the healing journey?
I would say, well, most of my morning routine is done before she wakes up.
Okay.
So she's not witnessing the actual morning routine. But what I will say is that I don't, so one of our core family values is honesty. So we, as part of my daughter's school, we as a family were challenged to come up with a family slogans and family values, and actually write it down and have this conversation with our child about what are our family values, to really get very clear on all of that. And one of our top family values was honesty. And so we have like, we don't do Santa in our house. We don't do Easter Bunny. We don't do all of that, because it's a firm family value for us that we expect honesty from her, and we are going to be honest with her. That was just an example. But what that also looks like for me in terms of this healing journey is that I felt for me that it was very, very important to be fully honest and transparent with Violet about what I'm going through, because what I don't want to ever happen is for her to not understand why I'm acting the way that I'm acting. Like, let's say it's a bad day. Let's say I'm in a lot of pain, or I'm struggling with some emotional thing that's come up, and I'm not acting normal. I'm not acting like myself. Perhaps I'm acting a bit, maybe I'm being quiet, or maybe I'm being a little short, or maybe I am not very present or disconnected. I wouldn't ever, ever, ever want her to ever misinterpret my behavior as being because of her.
Right.
So I'm through this whole healing journey for me. I've always been extremely open and honest with her, literally to the point of I'll pull her aside and be like, hey, Violet, I just want you to know today's a kind of a rough day. I'm not feeling real good in my body. And so if you've noticed that I'm a little short, or I'm not laughing a whole lot, or I'm not playing, it's not because of you at all. You've not done anything wrong. I love you so much. But today is one of those days where I'm going to do the best that I can. But I'm struggling a little bit. And she'll just wrap her arms around me. She'll say, that's okay, Mom. I understand. So we've always kind of had that going on. But I will say, in terms of this, since this major shift in my healing journey, for the last 5 months or so, and really prioritizing my own well-being and sharing it, at least I'm telling her what I'm doing. What I've noticed with her is that as she is noticing me doing better and feeling better, she talks about it. So my openness with her has translated into her openness with me. And she'll sit me down and she'll say, Mom, you seem like you're feeling real good today. You're laughing a lot today.
Oh.
And then, and then I'll say, I'm doing really well. And she'll put her arm around and be saying, I'm so proud of you.
Oh my gosh.
You're doing so good. Keep it up, Mom.
Sweetest?
Or like, in the last episode, I told you guys about this big people pleaser, fear of judgment trigger that happened over the last couple of weeks. And so I was having a couple of days there where I was in a very emotionally dark place.
At the Why of It All, we are passionate about healing mind, spirit, and body. And that's why we're proud to be sponsored by a brand whose passion for wellness runs as deep as ours, Tulip Blooms. Tulip Blooms is a family-owned American small business that crafts premium skincare products with intention, purity, and so much heart. Every product is handcrafted in small batches with 100% organic, natural, cruelty-free ingredients, formulated to nourish, soothe, rejuvenate, and support your skin's natural vitality. They offer lotions, body butter, facial serums, artisan soaps, and candles, and even hair and beard oil for the guys. Whether you're looking to deeply hydrate, rejuvenate, or simply love your body with a bit more ritual pampering, Tulip Blooms delivers high-vibe care you can feel good about because it's skincare rooted in nature, backed by integrity, and made with love. When you shop small, every purchase supports a dream and makes a real difference in the lives of a real family. Tulip Blooms is more than just a skincare company. They're part of a healing movement, and your purchase helps to keep that movement growing. Visit tulipblooms.shop and use our exclusive promo code HEAL, that's HEAL, at checkout for a sweet discount of 10% off your order.
And Violet came over to me at one of these points, same thing, wrapped her arms around me, and she said, Mom, just remember to keep focusing on what you have to be grateful for. She said, Mom, you're going to be okay. I know you're upset right now, but just keep focusing on what you have to be happy about. Just focus on what she's not even 10, you guys.
That's a true reflection of you.
She is. And what that reminded me of is our kids can be our greatest teachers.
Oh, absolutely.
And on so many levels, like in this case, she was my greatest teacher because she was literally reflecting my words to her as her parent, things that I have said to her 1,000 times. She was literally sending my words right back to me in a moment where I needed to be reminded of it. But also, there's so many other ways that they're our greatest teachers. If not, like in your case, reflecting back to you a behavior pattern that maybe you were not quite as conscious about before. And then Max was the perfect mirror to show you. And I'll bet you anything in your communications with your mom going forward, you're going to be conscious about your defensiveness with her.
It's so funny because just a couple of days ago, I had a rough day. And I didn't sleep well the night before because Max and I had this little discord. And, I get dysregulated when there's any discord between us. And I had called my mom. She asked me to call her after work, and I called her. And because I wasn't feeling good, I was on my cycle, again, sleep deprived, whatever. Didn't get a lunch that day, just all the things, right? And I was short with her. I was really short with her. And I think the beautiful thing now that I couldn't do like in my early 20s or maybe even like late 20s or 30s is now, like I recognized that I was short with her in that conversation. And so the next morning I called her on my way to work and I had gotten a good night's sleep. I was rested and I called her and I was like, hey, Mom, and I was like, look, I'm sorry. I was short with you. Like I realized that I was a little short and please, it had nothing to do with you. It was everything to do with A, B, and C. Yeah. And so, it's definitely having him and having to be a model, right? For, what an adult in this world needs to look like. Like it helps me work harder at myself. He inspires me to work harder at myself. And there will be days like you had with Violet when you were going through this emotional turmoil. Like I will maybe be having a bad day and I can't cry because I'm at work all day. Well, as soon as I pick him up and I'm in the car, the floodgates start, right? They start, okay. And then but I tell him, like you said, I tell him, I look in the back, maybe at a stop sign. I'm like, look, I just need to cry right now. Like, I just need to cry. Like, I need to let it out. And so I'll just, not the ugly cry because I got to drive and see and get us home safe. But like, he's so tender. Like, we will get in the house as soon as we get home. And he just did this like a month, and he's like, bring it in. Bring it in. And he just lets me, and I'll just cry on his little shoulder for like, I mean, a few seconds, but he'll just hold me and he'll just say, I love you. I love you. That's all he'll say. He may not get as descriptive as Violet, but he will just, I love you, Mom. I love you. And then I just, it's like, I'm doing something right. You know what I mean? Like, to have a 14-year-old teenage boy just be able to like recognize when his mom needs a hug and just give it to me and give me,
Well, he's getting to witness you. And listen, it's important, I think, to point out that it's not like you're just dumping all of your emotions on your child all the time.
Right.
That's not what you're doing, because that would be a problem. If somebody is not doing the work and they're just completely dysregulated all the time as a parent, and they're dumping all of their emotional burden on their child, that is a big problem.
That's a problem.
But what he's getting to witness is you going through your process.
Yeah.
He's getting to witness you doing the self-reflection.
Yes.
And identifying the blocks, identifying the fears, identifying all the things, and deliberately and intentionally working through it in all of the different ways that you do that.
Absolutely.
And so, and as a child, he's getting to witness you do that over time. He's watching you grow. He's watching you heal. And there are moments where they're going to be low moments, but he's able to be there for you, however he can.
Yes.
But you're not dumping on him all the time.
No. Oh no. And there are times as a parent, and we all know, you've got to keep a straight face. You've got to stay strong. You've got to stay, you've got to still let him know, or your child know, that no matter what, you're going to still remain the protector, right? The guider, the leader. You know what I mean? Like, being a single mom and having a one-parent household, I have to play the mom and dad in my household. Now, he's got a father, granted, that is very hands-on, and he's
a good dad.
He's a good dad. He's a very good dad. So absolutely, much respect there. I will always respect him as the father of my son. But like, in my household, there is no father figure. And so, I have to play the role of both. And sometimes you do too, because your husband travels a lot for work. So, I think we both kind of, anyway, you have to take on those roles, right? As parents.
And we're talking about, it's the balance between being authentic, which is where you're at on any given day in your healing journey, and being the strong, stable parent that the kids need us to be the majority of the time. Sometimes that's tough when you're in a healing journey and you're having a rough time. There are days where it can be really difficult to do what you need to do to take care of yourself, or be wherever it is that you are genuinely at in your process that day, but also show up in the best possible way for your kid. The example that it makes me think of is, there have been nights where, so my daughter, the nightly tuck-in is so critical for her. For whatever reason,
we did that.
Nighttime tuck-in is a non-negotiable, and it is extremely important.
It was important to Max too at that age.
And there have been times where, Ben's traveling for business or whatever, he's out of town, and it's time to tuck Violet in. And I am in this, it hasn't happened in a while. This is back when I was really in a bad place pain-wise, where I'm laid out on the couch. It's late at night and I'm in so much pain, and I'm so completely exhausted from being in pain for so many days and days and days in a row, that I don't have it in me to get up to tuck her in. I have a 2-story house. So just the thought of going up the stairs would be daunting.
Too much.
And so there have been nights where I've had to look her in the eye and say, honey, I know how important this tuck-in is for you. I don't have it in me right now. It's not because I don't want to.
Right.
I love you so much, and I know this is important to you, but I have to take care of myself right now. And right now, what that means is I need to lay here flat on this sofa. And she doesn't like it.
No.
In fact, I can see sometimes she would well up with emotion, and I could see her, choking back the tears. And then I'm like, would it be helpful for you to cry it out right now? And she'll be like, no, I'm okay. And then she'll make me promise to tuck her in the next night or something. And so we negotiate, whatever. So my daughter is a master negotiator. So sometimes that helps her work through it. Is like, if I need, because for my own healing process, if I need to set a boundary in this moment, sometimes I need to set a boundary in this moment. And although it's difficult for me because I don't like to see the look on her face. I don't want to feel that pang of guilt of letting her down.
The guilt.
But also, I think there is some value in providing the example of boundary setting.
I was just about to say that. And also what you're teaching her in that lesson, even though it's uncomfortable for her, is to honor herself too. Because in that moment, you have to honor yourself. You have to love yourself enough in that moment to say, this is where I need to be right now. And I cannot give any more today than I've already given to this little human.
And I will use the words that I can, and I will have a conversation with her so that she knows for sure that it has nothing to do with her.
Right.
And that it is, and that I will do whatever it takes to make it right.
Of course.
But that in this moment I have to set a boundary. And there's times where when we're on our healing journey that we're going to have to do that.
Absolutely.
But I do think that there is some value.
There
is some value in that.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. And then, there's moments where we have to navigate where we think we've fallen short as a parent. Like in our house, we apologize openly. So if I feel like I've maybe been short with her, maybe I'm having a rough day and I've been short with her, I'll catch myself. Maybe sometimes it takes me till halfway through the day to realize that I've not been super present with her, or I've not been super accommodating or understanding of. She's still only 9. Sometimes I forget because she is like Max. She is so mature. She is so emotionally intelligent. She is so. I am so blessed. She is just the most amazing kid ever. Like I nailed it in the kid department. But there are times where I get a little bit wrapped up in what's going on with me, and I've halfway through the day had to pull her aside and be like, Violet, it's just occurred to me that I've not been real present with you today. It's not because of you. I'm always in a state of, you know what this is? Talking about healing journey. And talking about kids being a mirror for us. I'm squirreling a little bit here in this conversation, but it's because it just came up.
It's okay.
When I was a kid growing up, I was so pathologically insecure. Where I've gotten to today, and this is just after an episode where I told you guys that like my biggest, most intense trigger of the fear of being judged happened just a few mere weeks ago, right? But I've grown so much, and I've stepped into truly the most empowered and confident and self-assured version of myself that I've ever been. When I was a kid, I was absolutely terrified of everyone. I had my tiny little group and I had my amazing family, but in terms of my social circle, I was just abusing myself and self-flagellating all the time. Terrified of what everyone thought about me all the time. Always the people pleasing to an extreme degree. And so where I will occasionally see it in Violet, although she is already a much more confident, much more emotionally regulated, much more stable version of me. I see all the sensitivity in her, but very little of the insecurity. But where the insecurity occasionally does pop up is usually in regards to me.
That's interesting.
Where I will see her occasionally step into a people pleasery sort of behavior. If she thinks that if like I'm being short or I'm having a reactive day, and she's trying to make sure that I'm okay, or that making sure that the energy between us stays okay. And so I've had to be really careful about catching myself, doing the self-reflection, having the self-awareness where if I see her doing that, if I see her start to step into that fawn response, the people pleaser, I immediately look at myself. What am I doing? How am I behaving and reacting and responding with her that's bringing up this insecurity within her? And the talking about modeling behavior that I will do when I catch myself doing that is I'll literally pull her aside and be like, I noticed that I've been short with you today, and I could tell that it's affecting you. I just want you to know that it has nothing to do with you. You've done nothing wrong at all whatsoever. Sort of trying my best with words, but also with the modeling behavior of taking responsibility for my actions, taking responsibility for how I'm affecting others. And letting her know that it's not about her. What I'm going through and the behavior that I'm doing the best I can in every moment, but that it has nothing to do with her. It's my attempt to try not to perpetuate that.
And the thing about kids is they don't know any better. They really don't.
They have all the grown-up feelings, but they don't have the experience.
So I'm saying, so they take it on as their own. They take it on, as their own. And so you do have to be careful about that. I think one thing I've noticed with Max is, and when I've had to check myself is like, say I'm on my phone and he comes into the bedroom, because I usually eat in bed in the phone, and he has domain of the living room. And so he'll come in the bedroom and he'll start sharing with me about something he's interested in, whether it be skateboarding or music or these little figurines that he's Warhammer or whatever it's called. Anyway, but months ago, maybe even a year or two ago, there was a time where he was showing me something or trying to talk to me, and I'm on my phone. So I'm really not present. And so there was a time where he stopped me and he said, Mom, it would be nice if when I come in, you would put your phone down and you could really listen to what I'm saying. It really, I don't know if he said it hurts my feelings, but he basically got across the point of that, you're not really here. You're here, but you're not here.
He's such a freaking cool kid.
I'm telling you. And so it really, again, they're a mirror to our behavior. And so that's been a whole thing that I've gotten so much better at that. And I can honestly say that I'm so much better. So when he comes in that room and I'm on my phone, and even like in the evenings when we have our time together, I try not to talk on the phone. Like I try not to take phone calls, long phone calls, because I just don't want him to feel like I'm tucked away in the room and he, I'm not there. And so when he comes in the room now, I put my phone down, I put it face down, and I engage. And honestly, that's all they want. That's really all they want. They just want to be heard. They just want to be seen. That's all kids want. They want to feel your presence. And if you're jacking around on your phone, or you're watching the TV, or you're, not giving them eye contact and like acting truly interested, because half the stuff like those little figurines, I could give a shit about the little figurines, but like when I listen to him light up and how he's talking about, he knows the chapter that these guys are in and the other guys and the allegiances. And I'm just sit there and I'm just like, wow. And then, but it's alert. Like I have to be intentional about it. It doesn't come naturally.
Yeah.
I'm not really interested in this, but because your child is interested, you have to, you need to be interested and you need to, be present, I guess. Is what I'm saying.
And in Max's case, where good on him for being willing to speak up.
Yes.
And he set a boundary with you, essentially, is what he did.
He did.
But he was able to share that with you. And what I didn't hear you say is that you got all upset and defensive about it.
Not at all.
And then.
Not at all. Because I recognized.
Yeah, I think, as we're going through our healing journey, we're doing the very best we can, right? Some days are going to be harder than others. I think that it's important to remind ourselves that the target isn't to be the perfect parent.
No.
We're always going to be doing the best we can It's just that our best is going to be different on different days. But it's important in these cases to take responsibility. And if your reactivity or wherever you're at is affecting your child, to take responsibility for that. Whether it's clearly communicating with your kid to make it clear that it's not about them, or when your child comes to you with a complaint, you don't take it personally.
Correct.
You don't get defensive about it.
Correct.
You can acknowledge it and do the best you can and just do better next time. This is the perfect segue to talk about something that we've teased out several times, which is the oopsie poopsie.
Okay. Is this, you want to talk about
oopsie poopsie?
Okay.
So oopsie poopsie is something that my mom taught me when I was a kid. It was a tool that she used when I was a kid to try to help me be less hard on myself. And it helped me to a degree, but I was so insecure as a kid. My daughter, Violet, she's not so insecure. She's a much stronger, a more confident version. And so something we do in our house is oopsie poopsie. When I do see her being hard on herself, when I do see her where she has made a mistake and she's getting really, really down about it, we say it's just an oopsie poopsie. There's no reason to get all upset. There's no reason to be hard on yourself. It's just a mistake. It's perfectly fine to make a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. As long as you take responsibility for this mistake that you made, you learn from it, and you do better next time. So that's what an oopsie poopsie is. Take responsibility, learn, do better next time. And my daughter now oopsie poopsies me.
I love that.
She oopsie poopsies me all the time. And when I come to her and I say, Violet, I've noticed that I've been a little short with you today, and I can see that it's affecting you. And I just want to tell you, I'm sorry. It has nothing to do with you. I'm gonna work on changing my attitude for the day, or whatever it is. You know, I'm just trying to come up with a random example on the fly. My daughter will literally look at me and she'll say, Mom, it's okay. It's just an oopsie poopsie.
I love that.
So talk about your kids being your greatest teachers, your kids being the healer, the mirror. And like there are times when we need to remember to oopsie poopsie ourselves as we go along this healing journey, and that journey not being linear, and we're gonna stumble. There's gonna be moments where we're not doing our best, not to get all judgy on ourselves and self-flagellate and the guilt and the shame and all of that. It's okay to just recognize that we have interacted with our child in this case for this episode in a way that is less than what we would like to for as a parent. Just take responsibility for it. Clearly communicate with your kid. Love the shit out of them through the process, and then oopsie poopsie yourself.
I've always told Max, honestly, we didn't get an instruction manual when we had kids. Like when we gave birth to these beings, like we didn't get a book that said, to be a parent, to be a good parent, you have to do A, B, C. I mean, like you don't get an instruction manual. You just literally do the best that you can. And that's all we can do every day, right? Not just on our own healing journeys, but raising our children. Like you just do the best that you can every single day. So I think that's a good segue to kind of, what do you think, end our conversation today? I think that was really valuable information. Is there anything you want to add?
No.
Now
I'm just thinking about all the things that I need to oopsie poopsie myself about in the last few days. There's probably a few.
Maybe we need a journal. Maybe you need to journal about that, your oopsie poopsies.
I'll tell you, my mother finds it absolutely delightful when she overhears her granddaughter oopsie poopsieing me.
It's got to be a proud moment for her as a grandmother.
Like, the oopsie poopsies have come from both directions.
I love it.
Anyway.
Well, guys,
thank you so much.
Thank you for being here and for listening to us just gab about our lives. And this is honestly so therapeutic for us. We hope it's therapeutic for you. If you will share, subscribe, hit the like button. If you think somebody could benefit from this episode, share it with them. Send it to them. And we will be back. I don't know where we'll be recording next. Maybe on location again. We'll see. But
we sure do like this place.
We do. And now we're going to go enjoy a nice little dinner together, enjoy our evening.
It's going to be a treat ourselves night.
It is, isn't it? I'm excited. So we've had such a great time here recording together, and we just hope you come back and listen again.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Love you.
Bye.